entitlement, SDT training, and what is the world coming to? All this and more on today's Brilliant Observations. Do, 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 do.
Well, good morrow, Melissa. Coming in
Good
hot with
morrow.
STDs. I love it.
Strangely, you heard STD when I said
Right.
SDT, which is a sorority.
What?
On campuses all over the country. And SDT training, in my intro, refers to the use and training in the use of Narcan for sororities.
Okay, we can't go there yet because what unsuspecting young woman feels empowered to join STD sorority? I'm so sorry. There is zero chance. No one will ever get it correct. I'm so sorry. If you don't see that coming, I question why you think joining this club is a good idea to begin with. That is super STD. Now, maybe they take it as a badge of honor. Maybe they're very attractive, vixen-like. Maybe they feel empowered in their ability to infect the world through their loins.
Vixen-like.
I'm not here for it. I'm super not here for it. That's like
infect-
the Whores Club. Like, what do you? I mean, stop.
Infect the world with their loins.
Well, I mean, is it empowering? Is that a way that we take our power back by making everyone else sick? You know what I just saw? Stop. I know you want to talk about Narcan. Super serious. Jim Carrey killed that girl. He killed that girl. He killed that girl because he gave her an STD and lied about it. Do you know about Jim Carrey being really bad?
I do not know this story.
Jim Carrey's the Joker. He's a big old comedian, and he has sort of gone off the deep end in terms of new age shit and being an artist, like a literal visual artist where he bought an entire room full of paint and like paints these crazy things, sits and meditates for days on end. He is really
Money
into
makes the world go round, the world go round.
He is deep in the Pak Chopra, if you know what I'm saying. He is really out there. He's super out there. And TikTok brought me some blaspheming, which I haven't fact checked. So of course, let's talk about it.
Until you said murder, I'm there for it. I want this for him. He's had a
multiple
dark
sources,
Go ahead.
sources, all of which were on TikTok, but originating from multiple sources. Okay.
Correct.
Claim that the family of the bereaved, right?
Okay.
This girlfriend from 2016 left. They somehow broke up. She married someone else, killed herself, and left multiple notes saying, "I blame Jim Carrey. He's the one that set me on this dark path. He's the one that gave me STDs. I'm not in the sorority on purpose. He's the one that gave me drugs that got me hooked that make me crazy." All this kind of banana talk. Super sad. And they're suing him for wrongful death.
The opinions and facts.
Oh,
given
I'm
by
just
Amy
reporting
on
the
this
news.
show.
I'm just reporting the well-researched news. Okay,
Can you
that's
say
when you want to start
allegedly?
doling out.
Can you
Listen,
throw in
when-
an allegedly? Because
when you
everybody
wanna
listens
start-
to this podcast.
When you want to start passing out Narcan, okay, at your STD club, I think
It's not.
I think that we're already teetering. We're already teetering on the tottering of what the fuck these bitches talk about today. We should maybe change the title of our podcast.
Maybe. Okay. Is he liable for that? Is he responsible for that? Wait, is this a story that I'm going to hear about the second we're off pod? Like, is that something that's going to punch me in the face? That Jim Carrey, who I have seen some of his interesting posts, I'm going to say reels. I don't know that he transitioned over to TikTok seamlessly like everyone else, but yeah, he's kind of crazy. I remember when he got his first check for $1 million for the mask, he showed his
$3
father
million.
or wished
$10 million. Something,
he had shown his father what he had gotten, or he didn't live long enough. It was a sad, heartwarming story. Next page, Jenny McCarthy chapter becomes kind of like a father to her kid, which is delightful. She loses her fucking mind and starts saying how vaccines made her kid autistic. It's not what's wrong with her kid. It's not how it happened. It's not anything. And she had Then you're saying the next chapter was this girl that he gave whatever Jenny gave him and the 27,000 other partners. Moving on, she says he introduced her to drugs in addition to diseases, and she took her own life. That's what you're saying.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well,
Wow.
I haven't fact checked any of it. I just want to circle back. The good news about Jim Carrey is that
Yeah?
it is legitimate and well documented from his own mouth. I mean, he said it to Oprah, so I don't know who else you could talk to beside
It's
Oprah,
law.
who's got more street cred. This is like talking to Jesus. You're just ready to go. So he said to Oprah on her set, on her sofa.
I
He
don't agree with
described the
that,
power
but
of
okay.
positive thinking, and he said, I want to be an actor. At one point, he was living in his car. I believe he was living in his car with some other members of his immediate family, as in parents or siblings. That part, they were all of them not doing
Wow.
great. And he wrote himself a check for, it was either $3 million or $10 million, but it was some astronomical sum. And he wrote it out to himself. And in the memo, he wrote for acting services rendered. Because at that point, he was still doing stand-up comedy to the tune of, he would go on stage and not leave. He would like crawl under the piano when other acts were on. He was legitimately crazy out there. I'll do anything Andy Kaufman style. Got a lot of street cred as a comic, but
Yeah.
not for your sanity. And he wanted to be an actor for acting, straight acting. And
Does
lo and
living
behold-
color count?
no. And lo and behold, he carried that check in his wallet and was able to pull it out the day that he received the check for, I want to say it was Pet Detective of all things, or maybe it was Dumb and Dumber. No, it was Dumb and Dumber. He got the check and it was for the exact amount, either 3 or 10, whatever it was. And he still had the check that he had written to himself. So this is this idea that manifesting and power of positive thinking and I will speak it into being is part of who he is. Now, speaking some STDs into being is not great. Speaking some paintings into being is not great. So if he has taken a turn into shaman land where he is an active ne'er-do-well doer, I don't endorse. I don't support. He's wearing that beard. I mean, beards are a gateway drug to problems. You can already tell. Don't make your eyes.
I
Facial hair,
disagree.
stop. Facial hair.
I
pass.
disagree.
Facial hair. Delete. Stop. Pass.
No,
Back up.
you're
walk
crazy.
away. Exit.
November 1st, I get my husband to grow a beard through April 1st. So November
Gross.
1st is quickly coming, and I will get a full-fledged, I guess, mountain man from my husband, and it'll be great. And I love
November.
it. Okay, so well, I get it through April, so I'm pretty excited. So your family goes to college, and do they get the ability to, I don't know, hoard Narcan in their dorms? Do they get the test strips that my girlfriend's daughter got at the University of Michigan? Are you horrified by what college has turned into and what it needed to turn into because of the lifestyle they're all now living?
Well,
And get off, while you're at it, get off my lawn while you're at it.
I feel like I mentioned this on pod, or I maybe just mentioned it to you when we were doing the summer of Go Everywhere for lacrosse. I was buying some oddly sized Band-Aids or some kind of crazy tape or, porta suture, something, whatever. There was an injury. We had to fix it. We went to CVS. I was just making chit chat with the woman behind the counter because they had
I believe you.
Narcan. Did I tell you this? Is this ringing a bell?
No, not at all. But I believe that you were just making idle chatter with the girl behind any counter. So go ahead.
They had Narcan over her shoulder, and it was something like $49. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you can just buy Narcan, and I also can't believe it's $49." And she goes, "They'll just give it to you for free if you ask them." And I was like, "What?" And
I was going to tell you they have it cheaper at Costco. Yeah.
She went down this whole thing where she was like, "Yeah, we have to have it." Because we have people in I said, well, who would actually need it that would come to the CVS? Like, I didn't even, right? Hey, bias, let's take it out and show everybody.
Plan B?
So she's
Is
like,
it right
"Oh,
next
we
to
need
Plan
it.
B?
We need it, and I'm so glad we had it." And they just hand it to me. I didn't have to pay a thing. You can get it for like $10. You can do this, and I'm like, wow, who even knows? And she's like, people know, and I'm like, they do? That's great. That's great news. And I said, and God bless you for having it and for using it for the people that need it. And she's like, you're right, thank you. But it was just
And
so
Grassroots has it starting at SDT. They learn how to use it. They learn when to use it, and
I feel like STD University giving out Narcan. This is
not
you're-
condoms. Not condoms. That ship has sailed.
I feel like it's part of a lifestyle choice, right? It's, sex work is real work. Let's give them the tools they need and be done with it. But yeah, I don't know. They did have bowls of condoms in our day. We just didn't
They
have,
did.
pharmacological intervention at the ready. So, they did. And everywhere you go, bowls of condoms. Take any condoms you want. Whatever color you like. That was as far
Pick
as
a
they
color.
went.
Yeah. Pick a flavor. Pick a color. This one is the condom of champions. Yes. Very nice. Well played. Well played. Speaking of TikTok, I saw a TikTok that had a woman, two of them actually. Maybe it's now in my algorithm. Two separate women said, I have claustrophobia. I need these 3 seats on a plane. One person was calling to say, I'll purchase this one, but because I have a doctor's note that I have claustrophobia, you need to give me the other 2 seats. This falls under the topic today. It's amazing what people feel they're entitled to. So that was one. So, and the other one was, this could have been a joke. I don't think it was. She was saran wrapping the 3 seats in her row because she needed that space so that no one would come into her space, which, by the way, if you think about it, is putting saran wrap on the TVs of the row behind you, 3 there, and the headrests of the 3 people in front of you to saran wrap your seat pocket. Thoughts on people with claustrophobia getting into a tin can in the first place and then saying everybody around them needs to fall to their feet and give them everything they need and want?
How long is the show? So
who do you fucking think you are?
We've touched on this briefly before because I legitimately had a creative director who was super neurotic, and we'll just leave it there. You can color in all the lines of neuroses that you need to, and he truly felt the effects of. He truly had. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. He declared himself claustrophobic.
Okay.
He did have a doctor's note, but he could have just as easily declared himself fucking bananas because, right? It was like
that's a diagnosis.
Anything that I do on this plane is going to cause me trouble, and we're on every single plane. He personally would pay for first class because it was not covered, but we do a lot of travel and advertising. This is a creative director, executive creative director. He would dump all this money, even in planes where they only have that one tiny there's no first class to be had. He would do anything possible to be in the very first seat closest to the door. Like, he really legitimately convinced himself that this was worth his time, and he was laughed at, belittled, kicked around, eye rolled. Specifically, they would deny him food. Like, the team, I flew with this person and saw this happen every time and dealt with his assistant, who many times had to secure the seat for him. And it was a massive, massive problem. I can't get into the thing about, did he really have claustrophobia? I could tell him that just to fuck with him because he was not well liked. I remember vividly one of my colleagues went in and pressed the numlock key on his laptop and said, that'll get him for a good week. And he really was fucking tweaked for a week because he didn't know what was wrong with his computer because somebody pressed the numlock key. So you're getting a picture of how easy it is to fuck with people. Well, did he bring it on himself? That's a subject for another podcast. People who claim disability and then give a bad name to people who really maybe do need some accommodation. That's part number 1. Let's acknowledge it.
Is that I brought my emotional support animal? Well, no, you have to have it's not just because you like Fluffy and you want to travel with Fluffy. It has to be real. It has to be, although you can get a paper that says anything.
For me, this comes in 2 parts. One is what counts as a reasonable accommodation. And that's a season of podcasts. That's not just one show. What counts as a reasonable accommodation for food, for anxiety response, for physical body, for mental load, for pick it, right? At what point do we declare this is the bulk range where the bulk of individuals are fit, and then we decide as a society what happens if you're outside the bulk, the typical, right? What happens? Do we just say fuck you? Do we expand so that everybody is included? Like, that's a whole fucking thing. That's not what this is. Because these are not people who require reasonable accommodation. These are people who are assholes, who are trying to gain game and the system, right? These are people who fly Southwest and declare themselves needing a wheelchair so that they can get first to board on Southwest. And then when they arrive, they walk to the wheelchair and put their luggage in it and push the wheelchair with their wheelie luggage in the seat of the wheelchair to the next flight.
You're going to think I'm daft, punk. People do that? Like, that's
Sadly,
a thing?
yes. Yes. And they do it regularly. We have friends in our world of lacrosse who commute regularly because it's easier to do. Just Southwest is cheaper than driving, right? And it's point to point. Let's get it done. So they are enraged, incensed at how frequent this is. And it's the kind of thing where you're not conning anyone. We're all in on it. Every single person knows what you're doing. You know what you're doing. We know what you're doing.
We
the
hate
team
you.
flying the plane all know what you're doing. And to be so brazen and still do it, it stuns me. And now back to your topic. I don't even understand what saran wrapping the seats together gets you, except all the germs in that saran wrap. Like, why are the flight attendants not kicking you off the plane? You don't get to violate somebody else's seat.
Well, the flight attendant did come over and say, this is unacceptable. You can't do this when she saw what was going on. Nobody around her complained either. They're like, this woman's fucking crazy. So as she's doing that, the flight attendant came over, took it down. She dropped to the floor and started screaming, don't touch your germs. I'm like, get off the fucking plane. You cannot be that human and be that A, claustrophobic in the other one, this one germphobic. You're on a plane where your breath, literally right out of your mouth, is getting sucked in and put into someone else's mouth. 10 seconds later, you are sharing air.
If you're lucky, you're in the bacterial soup that's supercharged and crazy heated up in the aerosphere.
And isn't that something you commit to when you decide to get on a bus, get on a plane, even get in a car with a taxi driver? Oh, this is probably going to stink to all hell. Yes, this is what I've signed on for. I'm all in because where was she going? She needed to get somewhere ridiculous. And she said, no, this is not what's going to happen on this flight. This is not an accommodation to your point that we are willing to make. I did not stay on long enough, swipe, to see if anyone else was sitting next to her. But the woman who called British Airlines and said, I will be needing 3 seats. And she said, that's fine. Gave her the
Here's
total.
the cost.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gave her the total. She said, if somebody tall was on the plane and didn't have claustrophobia as their issue, if they were too tall, the answer is, then you either get a more leggy room seat or you lump it because that's just what it is. And everybody gets that. When somebody gets a thing, they're the only one on earth who has something wrong and must be accommodated. I was offended when you said they kept food from him until you described the person gaming the system. And I thought,
well, they decided he was that. They decided.
Oh.
Right? They decided without any information other than he presented with a note.
Fine, right.
To say, I really need this. What can be done? This is a problem for me. How can you help me? At time of booking, there was no other option than what I booked. How can I pay to upgrade? What's available? Da da da. Like this was because whenever we would have changes in flights, which happens all the fucking time,
Sure.
he would go through this crap every time. And I gotta believe, why would you put yourself through it? Like, if not, work on the idea of get something to knock yourself out. Get something to meditate. Like,
Pharma.
Figure out some way that you can get through this 48-minute flight without 28 minutes at the gate, humiliating yourself and everyone around you, right? And it just... Ugh. But it really comes back to what is a reasonable accommodation and what is a scam. Because the more scammers there are, people who require simple, reasonable accommodation are left out in the cold. Left out in the cold. So that's why we can't have nice things. Yes.
Let's lie and say it's our anniversary. Oh, we got first class tickets. It's really our anniversary. Oh, sorry, we gave away all the joy that we could for. But speaking of weddings and newlyweds, I was at a wedding last night, and it was a whole family affair. Amy, you sent me the most beautiful text. Actually, you do it all the time. You are an incredible friend. I am shitting my pants. literally finger lifty, all nine, right? I am so fucking nervous. My mouth goes completely dry where I can't move my tongue from whatever position it's in. It lives there now. And I get the most beautiful text from Amy because, dear listener, I officiated. What? I officiated at a wedding yesterday of my best friend and the love of her life. And I have to tell you, I've been on a tirade recently about hating brides because they feel like and seem like and ooze me. I'm the only person who matters. It's my day. It's my. Sweetheart, say it again. It's your day. It's one day. Why are you putting your whole life into a day when you have a marriage, a lifetime of life and problems and celebrate? Like, I hate every fucking bride. I can't help myself. It's a terrible feeling. It's an ick I have. And then last night I realized, after helping and being a part of, watching really, the planning of this wedding, I don't hate brides. I hate first-time brides. I hate overprivileged first-time brides. The joy, the love, the understanding of the assignment in a second wedding for both of these humans. My girlfriend put it in her vows. We are not starry-eyed, dewy, whatevered children coming here. We understand what it takes to make a relationship work. We've been doing it for 12 years. I'm going to cry again. It's just the realization of we've been through fucking war, and every day we still wake up and choose each other. You don't have that at a first wedding. You haven't even, if you've lived together, you've lived together, but you haven't even been through life's anythings yet. So maybe that's why it's I want nice things. And I'm saying, I know it's ahead for you. And go ahead, have that nice wedding. Make sure mom and dad are broke. Yep, that's right. Spend more money on flowers. Because when life fucking hits you, please call me then too and make those TikToks because I really want to see those. This evening was amazing. And it was felt by deeply, profoundly every human there. And I'm so grateful that my whole family was invited. So all of us sitting there got to just revel in that joy. So I panicked because that's who I am. Amy sent me an incredible text and I said, someone's got faith in me. I just wanted it to be what they wanted. And because we didn't talk for months about it and I don't know. I got there. We set it up I got there early. I set up with the Mike guy, the photographer, redo kind of things they had there, and it was fantastic. Their vows blew me away, and they were just amazing. It was the perfect night. And my kids got drunk in my presence, and we danced for hours, and I have pictures, and I have video, and it was fun.
How do you feel about your contribution to the service?
I got great reviews, so I feel better now. But I just wanted it to be what they wanted, and that was my deep insecurity. Like, all right, I'm going to tell you a very vulnerable, honest situation for me. I know I take meds to sleep at night.
Yes.
So every night, dear listener, I go to bed somewhat high. Judge, don't judge, I don't care.
Happy, yes.
I go to bed
happy.
Serene. So the night before the wedding, Friday night, I had medicated. I'm feeling cerebral and calm. And then all of a sudden, something came over me that said, I think what I wrote, my speech for the wedding, is too much about me. Did I make it about me? And I took my folio and into my daughter's room. Hi, dear listener, I'm high. I walk into her room, knock, 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 come in. Is this too much about me? She opens and she's like, well, I'm like, oh, it's the night before the wedding. And if I wasn't already spiraling, I was off to the races. And I thought, I have to rewrite the whole thing. I have to redo the whole thing. Everything has to change. Didn't really sleep very well. I sobered up. I re-looked at it. I did take out a couple of sentences that made it sound a little about like
We've gathered here today for me about me.
No, but the line
And
about
as we talk to me about me.
putting my stamp of approval on this wedding, that I took out because you don't fucking need my approval. It sounded ick, so I did take that out. But other than that, I just did what I did, and they liked it. So never again. One and done. Dear listener, do not come to me if you are looking for clergy.
I think that everything happens at the right time. It doesn't mean we get to love the divine timing working in our lives. It doesn't mean that you were thrilled to have so much preparation devolve into an evening of panic. But I'm here to tell you that it happened purposefully, that reflection came to you at the right moment, and it was the tweak that you needed to, frankly, have a bad dress rehearsal and a perfect performance. You always want something to go wrong before it happens, right? So this was you being Michael Phelps visualizing his goggles falling off just because he had visualized every other way that he could have a successful meet at the Olympics, every other way that he could have a successful swim. And so he said, well, what if my goggles fall off? What would I do then? And lo and behold, at the Olympics, his goggles fell off and he knew exactly what to do. And he was so pissed that he happened to break another world record. So, golly
poor
gee.
you.
And now he's doing Home Depot commercials. Could you see this? He's doing Home Depot commercials. Why?
And better health, better, the
Yeah, but that just feels like a passion project, and it feels like an endorsement that makes some kind of sense.
Did you ask
Home Depot
why?
is like, yes, why?
A paycheck.
Why?
It's a paycheck.
My point to you is, who's going to the Home Depot because Michael Phelps is there? What?
Oh.
I don't get it. Well, I'll say this. I like Martha Stewart is doing cat litter, so everybody is okay doing whatever they wanted. Pretty litter. Everybody is selling everything under the sun.
That was
That's
a good
exactly-
impression. That was a good impression. I liked it.
She's so strange when she says
She
her
is strange. She's strange when she does everything, but I appreciate strange, I guess.
Oh, God bless people for keeping kicking. And I was so harsh about Dana Delaney a couple of times ago, and she's just doing the same thing. She's still
My
working.
husband
She's still
disagreed with
doing
you.
it.
He was grateful.
He thinks she's great in Tulsa King.
Great. I don't know. He likes her though. He doesn't know her from China Beach, from which
I do like her.
love
She was just poorly cast. That's it. She is she is a powerhouse.
Yeah,
who is wasting her fucking time in Tulsa King. But you know what? God bless her. She's not sitting on the front porch, twiddling her thumbs.
Didn't it used to be the paycheck was for movies, and if you did TV, you were kind of selling
down
out.
Upon.
So
not even selling out. You were the guy at the kiosk trying to get an extra seat on the plane because you have claustrophobia. People looked at you like, what is wrong here? Something is not right.
They saw it as a drop down to TV. Okay, but then you pick up an ad and you're doing a commercial or you're doing something.
Oh, that was the worst of the worst.
And then you drop
time
down
was
further.
There was a crystal clear hierarchy.
Go ahead.
Right? There were movie stars, and all they would ever do is movies. And if you did
Right.
anything else, God help you.
The
You didn't
silver
even get
screen, right?
correct. You remember you didn't even get to promote items that were related to the movie because that was beneath you. Like that, somebody else might do that, but you're not going to do that, right?
Right.
Then you had people who were on TV. Right, what do they even call it? The small screen or something? Like how diminutive is that? So they were their own class of, I guess, worthiness. And then you had people who were actively on with soap operas was even a subgenre below that, right?
So judged, yeah.
And then folk on commercials, TV commercials, shilling any kind of product, and you can't even say shilling like it's like selling something.
They sold out.
Right.
They sold out.
Right.
How is it selling out? They were smart enough to know that they could cash in from. Is it a product that they could endorse? First, they started with endorsable products. Now, when everybody's endorsing gambling ads on, stop. Just fucking stop. I wish that was a smaller business than it actually is, that whole gambling thing online. You made it too easy for all of us to lose our shirts. Not a fan. Speaking of not a fan and maybe athletes and selling out, trans athletes has been huge in the news or at my dinner table. I'm not quite sure which.
Yeah,
really,
not. Okay,
really?
Go ahead. Well, I mean, tell me what you got.
Okay. Starting starting with a boxer who was not trans, who they thought was too masculine and people would not fight her. There's a volleyball team, a collegiate volleyball team, I believe, that cannot find people to play them because they have a trans player.
What? Who cares?
So starts the conversation of people are pulling out and they're getting a loss for that game. So this team might just soar right to the top and take the championship because nobody wants to play them. They said it's not fair that there's an 80-mile-an-hour spike coming at you at volleyball and nobody wants to throw their body in the way of that. I have to tell you, I have seen some women spike that.
What's the speed of the other players?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're definitely going after this one trans woman. And by the way, I hate to say this out loud because it doesn't, in my head, need to be said, but I feel like it does. Trans women are women. Full sentence, full stop. Why you're saying you are not, because they are, the articles being written about these women are disgusting and horrifying, and I don't know how they wake up in the morning and lift their head and go right back to practice.
Well, it's so odd that you're having this as the topic at your table because the political powers that be have chosen this as arguably the only topic that matters in North Carolina in the presidential election. We are besieged with negative ads against Kamala Harris about trans, and that's it. And it's a fairly effective ad.
That's crazy that's the only topic that people are. I mean, I understood how stupid the bathroom issue was, and I thought, go at home. Like, I don't understand.
You're similarly in a swing state. You're in a must-win state, right?
Yes,
it's aggressive,
so are you.
and only because it crossed my path in what I was viewing in the past 3 days. I know that the spend in North Carolina on behalf of Harris Walls is the lowest of the swing states. So they're spending less than the Trump, what's his name, Vance team are spending here by $500,000. They're almost neck and neck, right? But they're outspending everywhere else. Okay, so I'm wondering, have you seen the trans ad, or do they just run it here? They run it nonstop, and it's an ad about Kamala Harris when she was Attorney General in California, leaned on somebody to change the law so that inmates, incarcerated persons, would have access via whatever health services they already had to trans surgery. She forced the law to either expand to accommodate or to literally be changed to accommodate. And then the ad itself is like, it sounds insane because it is. And then they're like, this murderer was able to turn into a woman because Kamala Harris made it happen. And then they put all these headlines like, yes, fact check, it really happened, and blah, 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 blah. And the whole idea here is, if you are an incarcerated individual, do you lose rights that you would have anywhere else? How many rights do you lose? Do you lose the right to vote? Do you lose the right to have health care? Do you lose the right to have cancer treatments? I mean, you definitely lose liberty, but where do those liberties stop? So that, to me, was the question. And instead, it has turned into, and I got to say, this is a great line. It says, Kamala Harris is for they, them. You know, Donald Trump is for you. And I'm like, oh, that's a good line. It's a shame it's a lie.
Honestly,
yeah.
I wouldn't
That's
mind her. I wouldn't mind her using that as a slogan. That I am for they, them. I'm for all of you. I'm for, like, are you kidding?
Right.
So do you remember, did you ever watch Orange is the New Black? I think we were
yes,
neck deep in. They had a very similar situation. There was a trans woman there who was receiving.
Had to stop. Yeah.
And had to stop. And I thought at the time, that is such cruelty to do to her. So if I'm being honest, and I am sharing with you, which, dear listener, we do all the fucking time, bear it here. Yeah, I really do think that those services should continue while you're in prison. It's you don't lose your dignity because you're there. You lose your liberty because you're there.
I guess that's what it comes down to. What does the system of justice mete out to people? What do we as citizens expect and demand? And you look at some other countries who are way crueler than we are, and some other countries who basically don't even have prisons. They have house arrest, and that's it. and and they don't like it because it's like, yeah, I don't get to leave my house. I have to stay here in this beautiful little house in the countryside, but I'm still I'm still incarcerated. I still have to stay here. I'm like, okay, that seems a little bit not hard enough.
It's called COVID. What you're going through is COVID. That's all that is. Your house arrest. How is that any different?
Yeah, this notion of trans, I have such a hard. I have a broader exposure to humans who actually are trans, that I kind of lose perspective of how shocking it is. I have at least 5 folk who are actual close friends, and then 3 or 4 others who have teens who have transitioned, are transitioning, have gone through it. So all sides around me, right? Colleagues, coworkers, whatever you want to call it. I don't really, it's like, oh, okay. The hardest part about it for me is not slipping up and going back and calling this person who I have a long relationship with by the wrong pronoun, or literally by the wrong name when the name changes. It's fucking tricky and hard. And I haven't watched that Will Ferrell movie about his friend who, God bless you, can we get you a stylist? I swear to God, I support you on your journey.
Yes,
are
I
ugly.
said the same thing. No, I'm just saying, take your fucking hair down. What are you doing? You're trying so hard with the makeup and the shoes.
There are so
thing.
many ways to
look feminine,
to embrace a different
She's great
look
though. She's
than
so
the
great.
one you got. So
sensitive, and so you're just. Here's my theory.
Nah.
The fact that these women are making it to semi-professional sports in the first place after knowing how trans kids and teens are treated, their suicide rate, their abuse, their self-worth, thought, whatever, the fact that they excel at something and made it to compete in anything, fuck you for trying to stop them. Fuck you for putting up another impediment for them to do well in something. The fact that they're there is a fucking miracle. And to not stand there and bask in that miracle. And you know what? This to me is common sense, but it is a we are going to get letters. We are going to get emails from listeners saying you're full of shit. You don't know. And I brought it to you personally because you have kids who play like they're going to play in college sports. And so the idea of gender being an issue there, I was curious how you would feel about it, how they would feel about it.
There was at one point a female player playing against an 100% male team with one, and then there on the opposing team there was one female player. I saw that once, and then time was a football team had a female player or two in the communities around me. Like I physically saw this, and it's arresting because you think there are physical differences among the players that I'm watching here. But guess what? There are physical differences among the players you're watching when you have a mixed age team, which frequently we do. So there's a lot of inequity in sport.
NBA, I'm like, LeBron's
there's a lot of inequity in sport. Yeah.
LeBron's 40 and he's playing with Bronny, his son. Are you fucking kidding me? And you're going to tell me that that's the same? Stop. Jared McCain, who I love, who graduated from Duke, is supposed to be on the Sixers this year. Well, he was a little last year. On the Sixers. He's playing with fucking Joel Embiid. This is a child. This is a grown man. You're giving me shit for what is a miracle that they made it where they are. Embrace them and support them and stop this bullshit.
Yeah,
I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you when those letters come into us saying, Melissa, you don't know what you're talking about, because we
did. So stupid. It's so stupid. And when I'm just aware of a couple of paragraphs ago, the words that flew out of my mouth saying how many trans people I know. Right. Okay.
I'm like, wait, what? You're fact checking yourself already?
It's not people that I know, people that I count as friends. Right. Yeah. Not necessarily in my closest circle, but close enough. I from colleague to friend fit in that category, right? Far, 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 far outweigh how many black people I put in my deep friend category. What do I got? 2, 3, 4, maybe. And I mean, and that's if you don't include if I include it to colleague, then it's not an issue. But I mean, how many actual close friends do you have or know, right? Versus, and there are a whole lot more black people than there are trans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's they're among us, and the fact that they're still not accepted, and people still have some kind of a question as to whether you have a right to be here. The whole thing. It is easier to question whether you have a right to multiple seats on a plane than it is to look at somebody and say, do you have a right to be here? We all have a right to be here. We
Amy,
have a right to be here.
You know who doesn't have a right to be here?
Uh-oh.
Somebody who would boil hamburgers.
Oh, my God. I'm so angry with you. I don't really want to give it the oxygen.
Voice. Don't
to
give
talk
voice
about
to
this.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking earlier in the show about TikTok. Not sure how this is going to get edited or if things are going to be out of sequence. But Melissa is already giggling and hiding her eyes and looking down and turning away.
I love them so much.
She is such a fucking negative force. Melissa should be embarrassed. She has, you talked about, previously we talked about, are you a movie star? Are you on the television? Are you on a soap opera? Are you on a commercial?
Podcast. Keep going.
Are you
Podcast.
standing on the street corner ringing a bell? Like where are you in
Go below that.
in your timeline? Okay. So meanwhile, of the TikToks, Melissa has found the most detestable,
I feel like I should get an award for it.
sickening, depraved, nay,
Steak chunks.
honey, just it is offensive. I take offense. It is insulting to watch.
Have you ever boiled meat?
God bless. Yes, I am Irish, but I don't do it in the way that these imbeciles do it. So we need to catch people up. So we're talking about TikTok. There are frequent posters. I'm not going to call them content creators, but they probably are. Okay? They live somewhere in the South. It is,
which offends you immediately because you're there and you fucking cook like crazy.
There's no, first of all, there are a handful of people, larger than a handful, who have this, who stoke the flames of misperception about what the South is and what it is not. Okay? They don't represent all of the South any more than any one person represents an entire region. So here we have some folk who are not good cooks. It's a mother and a son who like each other's company. The son is poking fun at the mom for her cooking, and the two of them have a little healthy back and forth saying things like, stop, I'm
cooking.
fine.
You called it cooking.
I'm doing it fine. They're in the kitchen. They're preparing meals. Okay?
What, Josh? What?
It's become clear to me that the whole thing is a put-up job. It's a gag. The whole thing is not real. It is done for shock value because the things that they air quote cook are not food, and they go out of their way to make it terrible. However, frequently they will eat the product of this science experiment.
Experiment. That's what it is.
Appear to consume it and actually enjoy it. It's very... everything starts with a can or some sort of a welding tool to remove the packet.
What was that can of brown bread? What?
I've seen brown, but that's an English thing. The can of brown bread is not. That's not the one that was personally offensive. She did beans on toast. So she got a can of brown bread.
Oh, not okay.
And that's just and it's not really a culinary delicacy any more than you would do Hawaiians with all the shit they do with Spam. Food can come out of a can and you can turn it into something and off we go, right? Canned ham, I'm sure can be great. I'm sure it's fantastic. Sounds wonderful for you.
It sounds awful also.
She bought ribeye steaks.
Yeah. Where?
At the Dollar General.
There you go.
From the freezer, and they were $3 a piece, vacuum sealed. They were about as thick as your phone. So not very thick, right? And sort of black.
I'm like, well,
gray.
Say the color. Say the color.
It wasn't an actual natural color. Vacuum sealed, and you tung 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 like a piece of bark. You would hit them on the wall, hit them on the table, and they did. She peeled them out of their vacuum seals, and instead of letting them thaw, she decided, here's how we're gonna cook them. She put them in a giant vat of water.
Berlin water.
It was probably an 8-quart Dutch oven. It was massive, and she dumped them in there. Like, even if you were going to thaw them in the packet without unzipping them, without opening it first, maybe you get your head around that. No. She took them out, threw them in, and let them float in their own rendered grease until they were uniformly gray.
But Amy, they're seasoned. The package says they're seasoned.
She put nothing on them. She put no, as if you would eat this, air quotes, meat at all. I mean, it could have been a horse. It could have been a possum.
It's at the Dollar General. It definitely possum. It's definitely possum meat.
It just was so gross. And she called water burgers. She made hamburger the same way. She took ground meat patties and floated them in water until they were similarly gray, and then picked it up until all the ooze and goose and sprues dribbled off it, and then somehow ate it. Why?
The fun
Why
part
are these people allowed on TikTok? Why?
The fun part is watching her son say, "What's all that stuff floating on the top, Mama?"
You're so gross. You're
Go
so gross.
eat it.
I don't want it. I don't want it anywhere around me. It's so disgusting.
I know.
It's just
sorry.
It's just sickening. Why do you keep? Why does
evil.
it enthrall
I'm part
you?
evil.
Why does it enthrall you? What possible joy could you take from what? It makes me sick. It's like I'm watching someone do surgery on an animal without anesthetic. Like, that's the revolt. It's revolting. It makes me feel complicit in an illegal act. That's how I feel.
Drew that parallel for me.
That's how I feel when I watch this miscarriage of justice.
All right, I will not send you any more, but I want you to know it's hard for me to see you as the queen of cooking and delicacies and show you something that is a horror show.
It
Keep
is
in mind,
a horror
we watch
show.
that shit. It is. I understand that. I guess I apologize. I won't do it again. I am sorry.
You're a liar, because I will get another one today, and she'll be you can't help yourself. You do love it.
I will try not to. How about that? Do you know that dear listener has written us to share thoughts about previous episodes? Remember when we discussed how things were discontinued, and the second you love a lipstick or you love something, there you better buy 30 of them. For me, it was Diva Curl shampoo, conditioner, something that no sulfates, no sulfides, no, like, this is great, super. Discontinued. I went online and I found 3 or 4 big pump containers from like a salon, I guess, and I bought them, and that's coming to the end. So I'm going to have, you commented last week that my hair is always the same. We'll see if that's still the case. Julia Klein wrote us to say what did she say? She had a lipstick that she loved, a Chanel lipstick, and Beth wrote us also to talk about something you talked about, Trader Joe's discontinuing something. And she talked about a goat cheese that she had gotten there. There are 2 flavors they still have, but there was an apple cinnamon goat cheese. I would make that my whole personality if that really existed.
I don't understand why they make so much goodness leave us. I really don't. It's not like there's an apple shortage. We have apples. They're still growing them in all the different
Apples don't grow on
kinds.
trees. Yeah, actually they do, friend. They do.
There are so many apples in the world. I would think cheese would be the thing we'd run out of before we run out of apples. Yeah,
isn't that devastating? So I'd like to tell you, dear listener, that we really do appreciate your feedback. We are just as frustrated as you are when all of the goodness that we appreciate for years disappears because, I don't know why. Somebody made a decision at a boardroom instead of my bedroom. Amy, topic,
yes, ma'am.
Therapy. Important topic. Everyone, in my very humble opinion, should go. I heard the concept this week of having ChatGPT as a therapist.
Oh, God.
What are your thoughts on turning to ChatGPT to
I don't have a full-on constitutional ban of AI, ChatGPT chiefly among them. I don't. I think it has the capacity to do good and can do good and has done some good. I think it also has the capacity to ruin us all and the planet so that we die imminently, right? At our own hand. So it's kind of a dangerous game. Justine Bateman, who I've berated on episodes
attacked
past,
violently.
well, she put a stake in the ground about her appearance as being something that she owns, and it's up to her to dictate who gets to tell her what's pretty. And I had some thoughts about that. Well, she has some thoughts about AI, and they were genius thoughts, because she believes this to be the greatest theft ever of copyright infringement ever perpetrated. And she said, as it was explained to me, the CEOs of several of these AI generative platforms say, well, it was all publicly available information. The AI only works based on what you feed it. What it's able to, it absorbs information and it uses that to generate another product. Well, what you're feeding it is 100 years of television and film.
Licensed.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the answer back to her was, well, it's all publicly available. And her response was, well, that's interesting to me because cars on the street are publicly available, but somehow it's illegal for me to go take one and drive it wherever I want. Now, I don't know that that's a perfect analogy, but there's something to be said for it is grabbing and stealing and using wantonly and spitting back out based on whatever plus and minus thinks gets the job done. I found it very, so it's overly simplistic and prone to error. Found it very interesting that somebody did use ChatGPT and said, I want therapy, give me only one-word answers. Did you see this?
No, I didn't see the one-word answers.
So the questioner said, I'm feeling blah, 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 paragraph description of all the things that I'm feeling. But answer me and tell me what to do, but only give me one word answer. And it would write back and it would say, meditate. And it'd say, okay, but that's not working for me. And it'd say stillness, or it'd say, perhaps, like it was really funny because it clearly was not being set up for success, and it still came out successful. In the same way that, just to oversimplify and call it all ChatGPT, I know there's many different types. ChatGPT is now useful in predicting breast cancer years earlier, based on its ability to study all available mammograms that have ever been taken and notice patterns that the human eye has not yet noticed. So that 4 years earlier, this kind of dot is 80% likely to go into cancer. So we need to, identify women earlier and help save lives. Gee, that's the point. Is it really helpful that GPT is going to make all of our brains get the same one word answer or the same paragraph answer, simplistic to, because that's to therapy, because that's the kind of thing. People are overweight for lots of reasons. People are assholes for lots of reasons. People are traumatized for lots of reasons. People have responses to trauma in lots of ways and lots of reasons. There are patterns. There are no absolutes. And it is just like art. This is not math. This cannot go down to probabilities. This is not, even to a degree, medicine. This is art. This is constant interaction and adjustment happening based on the circumstances changing. It's not an interpretation based on the full breadth of human experience as a human, not as an observer of human experience, which is all that is. So I think it can be helpful, but that feels like one of the more dangerous areas and applications of it.
I love the idea of using it for medicine the way you did for breast cancer. I am leery about, I saw, what did I see? It was Aaron Rodgers. Like they did an AI press conference with him. Like, oh, you passed the ball. And he was like, yeah, but so-and-so's got butterfingers. He fucking sucks. I can't believe he's the only one I have to throw it to. He didn't say that. AI said that. But for 4 seconds, I listened to that and went, holy fuck, your career's over. Which it should be anyway, because I just watched the Jets game. And sit down. Just sit the fuck down. Anyway, there are good uses for it. But to Justine Bateman's point, the reason you were able to get that whole season of Seinfeld from the internet is because somebody had a Netflix subscription that they paid for that you used to do that. So you took a small amount of money for your thing, you absorbed it into, and then used it to make money in perpetuity. So it is wildly dishonest for Aaron Rodgers to be portrayed that way, for you to steal the content from an entire show because you paid for a subscription that gave you carte blanche to do what? Like, that's very shady. Who polices this? We haven't even figured out who polices the internet yet. Who polices this?
No, and there was that op-ed that was, or the full page ad that was taken out by 40 or 50 of the original creators saying we need to stop it. We need to
We
halt
did not
it.
do this.
We don't
yeah.
want this. Frankly, it's gotten out of control already. We only see doom, doom, doom. And if you look at somebody like Elon Musk and the way he was jumping on that stage in Butler, Pennsylvania, stop
Get
it.
out of my fucking state, will you?
I don't want him in charge.
You
I
had
don't
one
want
attempt
him
on
in
your life in
charge.
Butler already. We need you another one. Could you go home, please? Just go
Oh,
home.
The picture of him jumping up and down is just so wackadoodle. My
That's because
Lord.
he is. It's just wildly
Yikes,
unexpected.
Yikes, yikes, yikes. Nobody polices it yet. And it's a very frightening tool that
It's
we
terrifying.
have created. It's a frightening tool that we have created, and we've created frightening stuff in the form of weapons that can annihilate the entire planet many times over, and we've had to figure out how to live with and mitigate that.
So you think there's hope in living with and mitigating this
I
as well?
don't. I absolutely cognitively know there is no hope at all, that humanity has been doomed for a really long time, and I ignore that as a fact. I live in a fantasy.
I need to survive, so
I live in a
ignore that.
fantasy where I am optimistic and hopeful despite all evidence to the contrary. I am continually buoyed by this notion that things are not the way that they present themselves.
And that is what is so delightful about you. That contrary to all other evidence, I push forward and I have to tell myself, we're raising children, we're in this world, we're leaving them behind. Yeah, you kind of have to. Speaking of leaving them behind, I'm going to Florida next weekend, and
Oof.
yeah, and I'm going to try to work with my parents in finding out their next steps in helpful living. Can't say assisted. They don't want assistance. Independent.
You won't be alone. You will be a couple, or you will be alone doing this.
No, it's worse and better. I am going with my spouse. And initially, when I used to bring my spouse, they would not yell at me because they don't want to appear that way. Like, he's family, but he's still someone we perform for.
Of course.
Excellent. So he's coming. And now it happens that it is my son's fall break. So we just booked him a flight to come with us. And it's also Yom Kippur the day before. We're not leaving till after. And he's going for his whole break. But between the new year that we just had and Yom Kippur, I am in the days of awe. I'm standing up for trans women and trans men. I am trying to do the Lord's work because AI is working against us. And everybody in my area feels entitled here. That was my summation, but I have one more story. Is entitled to know shit. I told you before that on TikTok, several middle school students in my area did deplorable things by making
Correct.
false accounts for the teachers in their school and accusing them or having them accuse themselves through AI probably of diddling kids, of being inappropriate, of having extracurricular marriage horrible things that defamed these teachers. Great. Their middle school principal, not great. He took a leave of absence. I think they used him as a scapegoat. So we just got another email that says his leave of absence will continue throughout the year and then he will be retiring. Immediately, everybody online, what happened? We need to know. Look, something needs to happen, but everybody feels entitled to, and because it's the internet and there's no accountability face-to-face in a conversation, they're nasty about what they feel entitled to know about everybody else's lives and situations. Would I love to know that situation? Yeah. That's only because I'm a thirsty bitch who wants to hear everything and know, because I know the players in the game. I want to know the scandal. I think that's human nature. I don't think it's human nature to come on a Facebook group and say, you've always hid things. You need to tell us what's going on. I Googled this person or followed their Facebook link. They don't even have kids in the district anymore. They're just hacking away. They're entitled to all the information all the time. And I see it on TikTok too. And I am trying to scroll past that quickly because that does not feed into the positivity, the second generation bride, the joy, the good stuff that's out there. So I try to get past it, but I am always fucking amazed at what people, information-wise, feel they're entitled to know when it's none of their fucking business.
Well, let me
Wow,
tell you a little story.
I've really been
let me
on
tell
a
you a little
soapbox.
This is good news. Let me tell you a little TikTok anecdote, which I think you maybe have not seen. I was amazed to learn that my husband had seen it because he's not on TikTok. It spiraled off TikTok into whatever
I still send him shit too.
he encounters. No, whatever he encounters through the news. He's like, yeah, I saw something about that. What in the world is that? I'm talking, of course, about the rolled up rug in the backyard.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so this woman and her partner, husband, were putting up a fence in their backyard, dug a hole, hit something underneath in their own home's backyard, looked like the edge of a rug. Cut to cadaver dogs, police homicide detective unit come out. The dogs say there is a body here. They start excavating. This goes on for days. The woman's account went from 5,000 followers on TikTok to 2 million followers.
I wanted to know what happened. Yeah.
Days. In 4 days. Okay?
That's fast.
In that span of time, she was hacked and had money. Evidently, she had joined the Creator Fund, had all the money that she had earned, however much that was, stolen by someone else, had her account hacked on TikTok, had police tape all over her house, was on the local news. Yeah, because and every post is now like, you thirsty bitches, I don't have an update. I'm telling you, 4 days ago, my biggest concern was, will I put this fence post in straight? And now I have literally 2 million eyes on me. And it is a lot to deal with. So I say that by way of change and how rapid change can twist your head so quickly in the opposite direction, it might snap your neck. It's just so much, so fast. We're running to keep up with it and to absorb it and understand it. Something's got to change. This is, I'd say it so much, I'm tired of saying it. This is the COVID of our lives. COVID was our first foray into, thought you knew what was going on? Ha-ha! Try again. That's been, everything has been a mini COVID or a larger than COVID since then. Thought you knew who was running for the presidential election? Ha-ha! Try again. We have a new candidate now, right?
My nanny used to say that. God laughs as you make plans. Like, okay, you should make those plans because it forms your life, but you don't fucking know.
The marathon you thought you were running, you will come to find out you're not even in a marathon. You're swimming. Like, it's just you're not even in the same fucking sport. So
why are there sharks in this marathon? What's happening?
We don't know. Rapid change is the name of the game, and the ability to absorb,
pivot,
and flex is what is going to save us, save our kids, and save us as adults. That's 100% the case. So give up this notion that you can predict anything, and as boomers,
control anything.
Yeah, as Gen Xers, right, heading into on the cusp of booming, right? We have to give up this notion that there is a beginning, middle, and end, that there is a path that we're following. Nothing is linear. It is all just whoops. Yeah, you have the chronological advantage of being here before, and guess what kind of a head start that gives you? Fucking none. We're all at zero.
You've never done this before, right?
We're all at zero, including your kids. And so somebody's going to get ahead. And guess what happens when the next thing comes around? We'll all be at zero again. So being ahead doesn't really mean anything anymore. So can we just relax a little bit and instead focus on what being here now means and what being happy means and what safety in the moment means, as opposed to this illusion of future safety or the crutch of prior advantage over someone or something else. So it's a tricky way to be.
I cannot think of a better way to end our program. That was perfect. No, it really was. Dear listener, let us know your thoughts, unless you're shitting on me for my trans thoughts. brilliantobservations@gmail.com. Come see us on, I don't know, we're doing TikToks anymore? Find us on TikTok or Facebook.
100%.
Oh, yes.
Watch for those. Yeah.
Yeah, be sure to go to Instagram, Listen Brilliant, or Burlap Squad on Facebook. We occasionally post something fun and interesting there. Just write us. We'll write back. We'll talk about you. We'll talk about you if you don't write us.
See?
See?
And with that, we say bye. To infect the world through their loins.